Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a conversation about transport information, about London Heathrow Airport. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4. Hello, how are things going?
Not bad, but
What's the trouble?
I'm worried about my trip.
Yeah, I remember you will go to Cambridge next week. Is that right?
Yes, but I'm not sure about the choice of transportation when I get off the flight.
Don't you remember that I'm from London?
Oh, right. Could you give me some suggestions?
Of course.
I will arrive at London Heathrow Airport and then go to Cambridge.
How about taking a taxi? It is the quickest and most comfortable way.
Sure, I know, but it's too expensive.
Right.
What do you think of the underground?
Darling, there is no underground to your destination from London, okay?
Okay.
Why don't you rent a private car?
You mean hire a car at the airport?
Yes.
Is it very expensive?
The cost depends on the type of car.
Maybe it's a good choice. Oh, do I need my driving license?
Of course. Don't you have a license?
I lost my driving license the day before yesterday.
I am so sorry.
And I do not really want to drive myself after a long flight.
Well, how about taking a coach from the airport?
A coach?
Yes.
Do you know how much that costs?
Usually the minimum fare is about £14.
Single or return?
Of course, it is a one-way ticket.
And that's quite cheap.
Yes.
How about the number of passengers in the coach?
Let me see, it is around 20 to 30.
How long would it take to get to Cambridge by coach?
I think it's about 3 hours.
Really? That's too slow. Why does it need such a long time?
Because it has many stops during the route.
Oh no.
And the last choice is the airport shuttle.
Yes, tell me some more information about it.
Now, look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 5 to 10. I'm not very sure about it. It is better for you to get the information from airport clerks.
Sure. Do you know the telephone number?
Let me check. I think I saved it to my mobile phone. Yes, here it is.
Okay, I'll call it now.
Good morning. This is the transport information at London Heathrow Airport. How can I help you?
Good morning. I'd like to reserve a seat on the airport shuttle.
Okay, I just have to fill out this form for you. What's your name?
My name is Echo Gray.
And your age?
I'm 21 years old.
What is your nationality?
I come from New York.
Okay, American.
Yes.
And your flight number?
It's BA 188.
What date will you arrive?
26th of August.
Do you know the arrival time?
You mean at Heathrow Airport?
Yes.
It is 3:05 in the afternoon.
Sure. Which terminal?
It is... let me think.
Is it Terminal 5?
Oh, yes.
So that's the Heathrow Airport to Cambridge on the 26th of August.
Yes.
Single ticket or return?
Just single. Does that have some discount? I mean, some special tickets?
There will be a Super Save ticket after 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 26th of August.
That's great. So what's the departure time?
16:10.
That will give me plenty of time to collect my baggage.
Sure.
How much is the fare?
A single ticket of Super Save is £18 and includes coffee.
That sounds good. Oh, how long will it take to get to Cambridge?
Up to 2 hours.
Great.
The last thing, how will you pay your shuttle fare?
Do you accept American Express?
Of course. Please tell me your number.
It is 3339 5183 7799 6047.
OK. Thank you for choosing Heathrow Airport Shuttle. You can get your shuttle ticket from our reception when you arrive at Heathrow.
Thanks for your help.
You are welcome. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a conversation about health centres. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning.
Good morning. Come in, please. How can I help you?
I want to know some information about your health centre.
Yes, sit down, please. There are 2 health centres. One is East Centre and the other is West Centre.
Where are they located?
East Centre is about 10 minutes to City Hall. Very close, and West Centre is out of town.
How about the appointment system of the 2 health centres?
Well, we have a proper appointment system, but because East Centre has many patients, I have to say its appointment system is not bad.
How about the West Centre?
It is more efficient than the East Centre, just 48 hours drive in advance.
Fine. How about their facilities?
What do you mean?
How about the difference of medical facilities between the 2 centres?
The East Centre has modern facilities, especially for some patients who need an operation.
Yes. How about the facilities at the West Centre?
It also has a standard facilities, but it's not better than the East Centre.
Yes. I'd like to know some information about the doctors in both the health centres.
There are about 12 doctors at East Centre.
I heard somebody say there is a really nice doctor who is good with children.
Yes, he is Dr. Sam.
I'm worried about my son's leg.
How old is your son?
7 years old.
Oh, I think the West Centre is a good choice for you.
What do you mean?
There are 8 doctors at the West Centre. Dr. Jerry is one of the most famous doctors in both health centres.
Yes, it is said that Dr. Jerry is very good with leg trouble.
Yes, I will think about it. If you want a doctor to visit you at home, you can reserve a home visit.
Really?
Yes, but we have a fixed home visit time.
Could you tell me the time arrangements?
Consulting hour for doctors at the East Centre is from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And the West Centre?
The time is from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
How about emergencies?
If it is an emergency, you can phone at any time, night or day. It might not be your doctor that comes through, though.
Yes. How about the charge?
You mean in an emergency?
Yes.
If you are a member, we will charge you £8 at the East Centre.
Is it the same fee with the West Centre?
No, because of the distance, the charge will be £9.50. Now, look at questions.
How about medication?
When the doctor sees you, you will get a prescription. You can take the medication you need at our health centre or go to a drugstore.
Sure.
If it's for a child under the age of 10, you don't have to pay for medication.
Really? That sounds good.
The same thing applies if you are a patient who is retired or pregnant.
Right. May I apply for your health centre's membership now?
Of course, you should fill in the form first.
Fine.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear a conversation about a student's dissertation meeting. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask questions about requirements and timetables of writing your final dissertation. So anything you'd like to ask first?
Professor, what about the word limit?
Well, you know generally, the words of final dissertations of the master's degree are limited between 18 to 20,000.
Oh, does that include words of references?
Yes, of course. And contents? No, the word does not include the acknowledgement and contents. What is the acknowledgement? It is a few words of thanks that you write at the beginning of the dissertation to the people who have helped you.
How about its words?
No more than 100 words.
Right.
Professor, when is the hand-in date? The deadline is on the 30th of July. Is it a fixed hand-in date? I mean, if I cannot hand in my work before the 30th of July, how... Sky, I'm afraid that you have to hand in your work on time, unless you have some sort of accident or illness. Okay.
How do I hand in my work?
You could give your work to your tutor at the tutorial, or send him an email to the department. Professor, when can I know who my tutor is? You can check the list of tutor arrangements. Online? Yes, or you could go to our department office to check.
Fine. How many tutorials do we have in a week?
Usually there are 2 tutorials per week.
How long do they last? 2 hours?
No, 1 hour on afternoons. Both on weekends? No. One is from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The other is from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday.
How about the requirements for the format?
You can check the requirements online. But one of the most important things is to have a printer.
Printer?
Yes, we usually keep all dissertations on file, so you must print your work by laser printer.
Fine. Now look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the tape and answer the questions 27 to 30.
Let's talk about the dissertation timetable.
Okay.
On the first week of May, you should begin to prepare for writing. The first point is to choose the topic.
Can we choose the topic by ourselves?
Of course. Your tutor will give you some suggestions, and you can narrow a topic by yourself.
Great.
And then you can work on your basic references.
Right.
You can ask your tutor to give you a reference list, and then borrow reference books from our library. And the next point is to prepare for the draft plan. Definitely. You should write a draft first and then discuss it with your tutor at the tutorial.
If the draft is okay, what should we do next?
You will begin to do research to collect data to support your work.
Okay. Can we choose the research methods by ourselves?
It is better if you take your tutor's advice.
Okay.
When your data is enough for your work, you will begin to write up your dissertation. How many parts does a dissertation contain? Usually your work must have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. You should talk about it with your tutor.
And then can we hand our dissertation in?
No, you should do proofreading before handing in your work.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Right.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a lecture about Australia. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Australia is the world's smallest continent and largest island. It is one of the oldest land masses and flattest of all the continents. After Antarctica, Australia is the second driest continent. Most areas of Australia are semi-desert or arid. Almost 40% is north of the Tropic of Capricorn. On its western coast is the Indian Ocean, and on its east, the Coral and Tasman Seas of the South Pacific Ocean. Australia is the only nation which occupies an entire continent. It is about 25 times larger than Britain and almost double the combined areas of Pakistan and India. There are three main structural characters. The first one is the Great Western Plateau. It covers most of Western Australia, much of the Northern Territory and South Australia, and part of Western Queensland. Its average elevation is about 300 metres. East of the plateau, extending from the Gulf of Carpentaria in the north to eastern South Australia and the western Victorian coast, is the great lowland belt known as the Central Eastern Lowlands. The belt's average elevation is 150 metres. And at Lake Eyre in South Australia, it drops to about 12 metres below sea level. The last one is the Eastern Highlands, better known as the Great Dividing Range, following the eastern coast south from far northern Queensland to southern Tasmania. Nearly over 400 kilometres from the coast and sometimes forming part of it. Their average altitude is less than 910 metres, although peaks exceed 1,800 metres in the rugged southeastern area called the Australian Alps. Nearly a third of Australia is north of the Tropic of Capricorn, and the rest is the temperate zone. Low rainfall and clear sky is a feature of the climate on most of the continent. In Australia, summer is from December to February, autumn, March to May, winter, June to August, and spring, September to November. For most of the country, January usually is the hottest month in summer. The flag of Australia is the only one to fly over the whole continent. The small Union Jack represents the historical link with Britain. The large star has 6 points for each of the states and 1 star for the territories, and the small stars form the Southern Cross, a prominent feature of the Southern Hemisphere night sky. Australia has no official or traditional national costume. Green and gold have been used traditionally by Australian Olympic and other sporting teams for most of the 20th century, and have become the national colours formally in 1984. The official language is English, by usage, not law. It has its own colloquialisms and slang, but does not differ importantly from other forms of English except in accent. Spelling generally follows the British form. Australia is one of the most urbanised countries in the world, with about 70% of the population living in the 10 largest cities, and only 15% of Australians live in rural areas. Australians have a high standard of living by world standards. Australia is a multicultural society, with about a quarter of the population foreign-born. The first European settlement of the continent, by the British, began in 1788, on the site now occupied by Sydney. Settlement schemes during the next 150 years helped increase Australia's population to about 7.4 million by the end of World War II. Over 5 million migrants have settled in Australia since, helping to more than double its post-war population. Nowadays, most Australians work for wage or salary. They usually work about 35 to 40 hours per week. Employees can get paid annual leave, about 4 weeks, sick leave, and long service leave. They also have about 10 paid public holidays per year. Most people retire at the age of about 60 to 65. The average Australian female has a life expectancy of about 79, and the male about 73. Most Australians marry in their late 20s. On average, couples have 2 to 3 children. Many aspects of the arts in Australia have their roots in Europe, but its Asian neighbours have made a main impact on its own history and culture. Distinctively, Australian trends are developing, and the vigour and the originality of the arts in Australia often surprise visitors. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the great problem facing the arts was the same as in other nations: increased costs and a decrease in government financing. But increasing public interest provided the momentum to carry them through difficult times. The Australian government has developed tax deduction policies to encourage greater financial support of the arts. A tax deduction is available for donations of property to public libraries, museums and art galleries. The Australia Council is a funding agency of the government. The agency spends over $50 million per year. More is spent by state governments. The Australia Council Board supports specific art forms, and Central Council programs support research, education and multicultural arts.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.